Welcome to this video. This is part 3 of my hypothyroidism series. So if you have not seen the previous 2 videos, I encourage you to go back on my channel and look for those other videos because I talk about what are some of the foods that you want to avoid, what are some of the ways that you want to start to address the root causes of hypothyroidism in your body. In this video, I'm going to talk a lot about detoxification, but before I dive into that, the thyroid gets blamed for so many issues. And oftentimes, at least what I've seen in my clinical practice, is that it's not just the thyroid gland that is out of balance. Generally, the whole endocrine system is out of balance as a result of all of the toxic chemicals that we're exposed to on a daily basis, whether it's in our food, our air, our water, our personal care products. Now, we've all been socialized into thinking that all of these chemicals that we're being exposed to on a daily basis, that they're benign, that they have no impact whatsoever. And that really is not true. One of the things that I've come to realize as I've been in the holistic health space as a practitioner and also been on my own health journey, reversing hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's, is that there are zero research studies that look at the long term effects and impact of what happens in the human body when we are repeatedly exposed to different types of chemicals that can accumulate in our system. And there are no research studies that look at what are the interactions that happen between these different chemicals in the human body. We ourselves are living that experiment right now. And I think that is why we have such a chronic disease epidemic, because at least from a regenerative health perspective, chemical toxicity, chemical and heavy metal toxicity is one of the 3 root causes of chronic dis-ease within the body. So when it comes to reversing hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's, addressing toxicity within the body and doing proper detoxification is very, very important. And this is something that I feel gets really overlooked by most people who are on a health journey trying to address hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's. They're hyper focused on what do I eat? What don't I eat? And they forget the detoxification piece because we're taught not, we're taught some really incorrect information about our body. Most people think that whatever they put in their body, that somehow their body will just handle it. And that's not how the body works. If you continue to put things into your body that your body is not designed to handle, it will create a stress on the body. And I'm actually going to do a separate video talking about the different types of stress our body is exposed to. Most of the time, when people think stress, they think emotional stress, mental stress. But there are so many other types of stress that we want to be aware of. And if you want your body to function at its best, it's important to get rid of those stresses. Okay, so back to hypothyroidism. Toxicity is a really, really big problem. And so if you are putting toxic chemicals into your body, whether it's through food or what you're breathing in or what's going on to your skin, and even what's being soaked into your skin from the atmosphere, because remember, our skin is an organ and it can absorb what's in the atmosphere. This has been proven. And so if you're putting all these toxic chemicals in and heavy metals in, thinking that your body can just handle it, it absolutely isn't true. There is this tipping point that it just becomes too much. Think of it this way. If you work for someone and they give you a task and then they just keep giving tasks to you, but you haven't even completed the first task, the first 2 or 3 tasks, but they keep piling on more and more and more work on top of you, you're going to get to a point where you just like completely break down. "Oh, I can't do this. This is too much," right? You'll have a nervous breakdown. That's essentially the way that I see it in my mind, the way I kind of have come to understand it. That is essentially what's happening in the human body, is that we come into this world with a toxic load, right? This has been proven for like most babies are born with exposure to literally hundreds and hundreds of chemicals that their little body has to be able to process and handle. They come into this world with a high toxic load. And just think of it, a baby doesn't have a fully formed immune system. Their body's still very much in growth mode, especially those first few months. And so when we expose our body to this high toxic load right from birth, it keeps accumulating over time, right? And so we have certain elimination pathways and elimination organs, and they can only take so much. So we've got our liver, we've got our lungs, our colon, our skin, and our kidneys. And so if our system is exposed to a lot of toxicity over time and there is no proper detoxification protocols in place, there will come a point where your body just can't keep up. And the way that we know that that is happening is when the lymph system starts to back up. How do we know the lymph system is backing up? When you start to experience symptomology in your body, that means that your elimination pathways aren't working optimally and all of that waste is not being eliminated from your body. And so your lymph system starts to back up because your lymph system is responsible for getting rid of whatever your body doesn't need, whether it's food that you've eaten that your body's not going to utilize, whether it's the toxic chemicals, whatever it is, whatever metabolic waste and waste byproducts are in the body, if they are not excreted out through your system, they start to back up in the system. Think of it this way. It's like someone who never flushes a toilet. Yes, there's all this waste that's being dumped in, but the toilet's never being flushed and it starts to overload the system. We know the system's an overload when we start to experience physical symptoms within our body, and that that will continue to back up in the system. And then usually like most people will ignore, some of those physical aches and pains, and it'll get worse and worse and worse and worse. And then eventually they may go to their doctor, they may get a blood test, and the blood test will reveal whatever the imbalance is. When things are revealing themselves in the blood, it means the system is really backed up. If you're experiencing physical symptomology, but then you go to do a blood test and nothing shows up, count it as a blessing because that means that. So, what happens when the lymph system backs up and things don't start to get moving again? It'll start to back up into the blood system, which we don't want. So, let's say you go to get a blood test, you're feeling, whatever symptomology you're experiencing, but it's not showing up in a blood test. Consider that to be a blessing because what that means is that it hasn't backed up to that point. You can get on track. Remember that our body doesn't lie to us. So if you're experiencing physical symptoms, something is wrong. Just because it's not showing up in the blood work doesn't matter. It still means that you need to detox your body. And one of the things that I say to clients all the time, detox to regenerate. What do I mean by that? It means that in order for your body to regenerate itself, because it is capable of healing itself, in order for your body to regenerate, you must take out the trash. You have to detox the body. So if you lived your entire life and you've never done a proper detox, you haven't addressed the chemicals, the heavy metals, all of the things that have accumulated in your cells and tissues, then it is time to do that. And I can tell you on my own hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's journey, this was something that I overlooked for a long time. I was hyper focused on what do I eat? What don't I eat? And I over exercised to the point of where I was stressing my body out. In fact, I don't know if I've shared this in the hypothyroidism videos that I did for my YouTube channel or on another platform. But basically, I did high intensity interval training for close to 3 years. I lost 0 pounds and my body was in so much pain, like head to toe. I was in pain 24/7. I actually was in so much pain. I don't understand how I didn't medicate myself, but I think it's just because I knew that medication wasn't the answer. And it wasn't until I really shifted my thinking around number one, how I needed to move my body, number two, how I needed to nourish my body. And the third piece of it was that I came to realize that I really need to focus in on my gut health and detoxification. When I started to focus on that way, that was when my health really started to transform. And the nourishment piece is important because if you're the way that our current food system is set up, if you are getting your groceries from a grocery store or even from a farmer's market, because a lot of times what is being sold at a farmer's market is not organic, it's chemically sprayed, it's grown in soils that don't have enough nutrients in it. So if you try to detox your body and you don't have that strong nutritional foundation, your body will not be able to detox itself properly. So this is why every single time I work with a client, we always start with the diet. Before we go deep into detox, we address diet first. And the reason for that is that we want to build that strong nutritional foundation so the body has the capability to properly detox itself. Now, I work with a line of micronutrient dense superfoods that help to really get that nourishment at the cell level right away. I also start working with clients on their gut health and opening up the elimination pathways because in order for the body to properly detoxify itself, elimination pathways must be open. And unfortunately, most people don't go to the bathroom on a regular basis. What happens if you're not going to the bathroom on a regular basis? Things are backing up in your colon, and that can go into your bloodstream, creating more toxicity, which is not what we want. So, it is really, really important. It is vitally important that you understand how your body works so that you can properly support it. It's not about doing some quick fix 3-day cleanse and thinking that, your body's going to magically heal itself. It really is about understanding how important proper hydration and nutrition is to your body, how foundational that is. Then you can step into detoxification. So when I work with clients or I work with people in my groups, what I always emphasize is that we change diet and hydration right away. We start working on gut health. That will start to open up the elimination pathways. Once the elimination pathways are open, then we can start to address the chemical and the heavy metals within the body, start to move into detoxification and do some light parasite cleansing. And then from there, we can move into deeper parasite cleansing. When it comes to hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's, parasites are definitely a factor. Anytime there's chronic health issues within the body, parasites are a factor because they thrive in environments that are very, very toxic and have a lot of chemicals and heavy metals. In fact, parasites feed on heavy metals. So I have done other parasite videos. Please go check them out because I don't want to get on the parasite train in this video. But I want you to understand that if you're dealing with hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's, addressing detoxification as a part of your protocol is vitally important if you want your body to heal itself. Your body cannot heal itself if it still has a high toxic chemical and heavy metal load within it. It doesn't have the strength because there are these foreign things within it that it's trying to deal with. And the other thing to keep in mind is that your liver is in charge of 60 to 70% of the conversion from T4 to T3. Okay. So if your liver, which is responsible for dealing with all those toxic chemicals that you're breathing in or that are in your food or your personal care products, if your liver is overloaded with all this toxicity, it may be unable to actually do that conversion from T4 to T3. And this is why I say the thyroid gets blamed for a lot of things, but it may not be your thyroid. It could honestly be your liver. It could be the fact that you have an endocrine system that is completely compromised because you have been putting all of these toxic chemicals into your body and not understanding the full extent of damage that it actually does to your body. And those chemicals are affecting not just your thyroid, but all of your endocrine glands. So your entire endocrine system is offline. And this is what I've seen time and time and time again within my practice is, especially since the start of this year, 99% of the people that I work with, it's not just their thyroid gland that is offline, it's their pituitary gland, their pineal gland. And I'm not laughing because it's funny, but I'm laughing because it's just like crazy to me that people still haven't made this connection to how toxic chemicals are to the human body and how we are giving them too much of a pass when we need to actually be paying a lot of attention to how much chemical toxicity we are allowing into our body. So what I have seen in my practice is it's not the thyroid gland exclusively, it's also the adrenals, along with some people it's the pancreas, some people it's parathyroid, but usually on average more than 2 endocrine glands are out of balance. It's usually 5 or 6. Sometimes it's the entire endocrine system, which means, remember, your different endocrine glands are responsible for releasing hormones that tell your body what it needs to do. And so if your endocrine system is not functioning properly, your body's not going to function properly. So this is about more than just changing your diet and moving more. It's really about understanding how your body functions and giving it the support that it needs. So yes, nutrition is very important. Nutrition and hydration is foundational. But if you are not detoxifying your body at all or detoxifying it correctly, you're not going to create the health that you're seeking. The final thing I'm going to say about this is that for women, especially, they get very, very focused on weight. And when it comes to hypothyroidism, that's the big thing that most women are hyper focused on. I know I was, and I'm not anymore at all. I don't even care because I understand how the body works. So if my body is holding on to weight, I know that it's holding on to excess waste. It is toxicity within the system because what the body does is when it's dealing with too much chemical toxicity, it is going to try to protect your vital organs. And so for some people, what it will do is it will actually buffer those chemical toxins and put it into fat cells. It'll just tuck them away into fat cells and just like, okay, I don't know how to process that. I don't know how to get rid of that. Let me just put it in this fat cell so it doesn't affect the spleen or it doesn't affect the liver or it doesn't affect whatever organs, right? And so when someone is carrying excess weight on their body, it is inflammation and it is toxicity. So if we focus on detoxification and reducing inflammation in the body by hydrating more and by changing the diet, guess what? The weight just comes off. And this is why I've seen people do my lifestyle transformation program. And sometimes somebody will release 10 pounds in 2 weeks. The reason their body's releasing 10 pounds in 2 weeks is we're finally starting to mobilize the waste, the chemical waste out of their body. We're starting to alkalize the body and nourish the body. And remember, the body wants to heal itself. It really, really does. But in order for it to heal itself, you must create conditions. Okay. So I hope you found this video to be helpful. Please share it with anyone that could really benefit from hearing this information. One final thing I'll say is that when I finally figured this out over 5 years ago, I embarked on a program that addressed diet, gut health, parasites, and chemicals, sort of the beginning of addressing the chemicals. And I did that program solidly for 6 months. By the end of the 6 months, the brain fog lifted, my depression was gone, my body finally started to release weight again. I was off the meds. I was off the meds and I never had to go back on the meds ever again, thankfully. I've been 5 years medication free. It is an amazing, amazing program. So make sure that you look for it down in the description, the video description, because it is linked up below. And I will say that in terms of hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's, deeper parasite cleansing is necessary beyond this program. I've personally done it myself, so I know why that it is necessary and that it's important to do. So if you want more guidance and you want to have like the exact protocol beyond the thing that I did for 6 months, I cover all that in my membership Elevate. So you can check that out as well. But all this to say is that you must detox. Detox in order to allow your body to regenerate itself. So I hope you enjoyed this video. You found some value in it. Thank you so much for being here. Feel free to share this information with anyone who can benefit. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching. This is definitely the place to be to learn how to uplevel your health, your mindset, your life in all the ways. To learn about my latest programs and offerings, head on over to my website, balancelifewithjulie.com. It is also linked below. I do have a newsletter where I put specials as they come up. You can find that newsletter through my website. Now there is content that is dropping all the time, every single week. So you want to be subscribed to this channel. Hit the notification bell so you are notified every single time a new piece of content drops. I want to thank you for being a part of my community, and I will see you in the next video.